You are listening to the Tricast Gaming Podcast.
Greetings and welcome everyone to episode number 1 of the Tricast Gaming Podcast. I am your host, Philip Keeney, and I am joined, as is customary, by Mark Martinez.
Hello.
And Adam Garcia.
Hola.
Each and every week, we get together to channel our virtues through the Triforce to provide you all the latest news and general thoughts from the mythical world of video games. We are new and largely doing this of our own entertainment, simply because we love video games. If you like what you hear, please consider leaving us a like and a review on your podcasting app of choice. And if you really enjoy it, or you're my wife, hi dear, thanks for supporting me, please consider sharing on social media and the like to your friends. You can find us on Twitter at Tricast Gaming P1 and on Facebook at Tricast Gaming Podcast, or finally at our website, tricastgamingpodcast.com. Pretty easy to remember, tricastgamingpodcast.com, everywhere you're looking for us. All right, so on to a few housekeeping notes. If you want to send us some questions, we're absolutely open to it. Just shoot us a DM on Twitter or Facebook. We'll read through those every week, and if there's anything interesting in there, or at least at the start, if there's anything in there, because we'd love to hear from you, we'll read it out on the show. Number 2, I know that today's show is Thursday, July 23rd. Big show today from Xbox. A lot of cool stuff in there. We are very excited to talk about it. But we are going to do a whole special episode dedicated to the Xbox Showcase. We're going to record that tomorrow night. We're going to take some time, read through some more news stories, look at some more YouTube videos of different people with inside access to some of the content. And we're going to talk about all that tomorrow night. So tonight, you will not hear anything about the Xbox Showcase other than I'm pretty excited about Halo Infinite. That looks super cool. All right, number 3, our show release plan. Weekly, every Friday by 9 p.m. Central Standard Time to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. We're going to try to keep a very simple cadence on that. I don't want to drive us to any one specific time on Friday, but by 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, every week you'll see our show up there. And for this week, with our special show, you'll see that come up by 9 p.m. Central Standard on Saturday. So look forward to our podcast every week. Okay, let's get started, guys. Listen, before we get into any excellent video game news, I was looking at IGN for different stories, and I saw this pop up. The Avatar and Star Wars films are getting delayed by a year. So it sounds like this whole COVID-19 pandemic thing is starting to hit Disney too with their filming. I saw that they're going to move Avatar out to December 2022. And the new Star Wars film, nobody really knows what it's going to be, to December 2023. Are these films you're looking forward to, Adam?
Honestly, Avatar I could deal without, because I think it's just, I don't know, it's weird. But like Star Wars to me, yeah, I'm excited for that one, but I'm not as excited for Avatar as I probably should be, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to Avatar, because I know they're like planning on doing that's rude. I know they're planning on doing a
yeah,
3.
Sorry about that.
I know they're doing 3 movies, and I really enjoyed the first one. And I don't know. I just think I'm looking forward to the story they're going to tell. I'm not really surprised by the delay, though. I mean, I was kind of expecting like a bunch of movies will probably get delayed. If not that, then just go straight to on demand. But yeah.
In all honesty, I'm looking more forward to Bill and Ted's new movie compared to Avatar. That's how little I care about Avatar. Yes.
Oh wow.
Tell me about this movie. I don't know that I'm following. I haven't heard about this one.
You've never heard about a Bill and Ted?
No, educate me.
What planet are you on?
God.
I think Earth, maybe.
No, obviously not Earth. Maybe it's a different realm. I don't know. But Bill and Ted, it's a movie series from the 80s. I could have swore it finished in the 80s too. Maybe it's early 90s. I'm not exactly sure. But it's about 2 guys who are California stoner guys who are like destined to save the world. And so people go back in time and to the future to try to save these 2 from anything happening to it. And long story short, the second movie ended the way it did, and I never thought in my lifetime that I would see them come back to finish the story. And honestly, I thought, like I said, I thought the story was finished, but they found a way to add on to it, and it looks very interesting. Like I hate when people beat a dead horse, but it doesn't feel like they're doing that with this.
When is this one supposed to come out?
If I remember correctly, it's supposed to be September of this year, actually.
September of this year, and you haven't heard of any delays?
No, actually, I haven't.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's supposed to come out this year.
Is it going to go be like straight to like on demand?
As far as I know, no. It looks like it's going to be released. Oh, I'm sorry. It's supposed to be August of this year, so next month.
Next month.
It doesn't look like it's going to be straight to on demand or anything else. It looks like it's actually going to be a theater release.
Are there even theaters open right now?
Yes, there's one theater open here in Lubbock, Texas, which is, for those that are listening, that's where I'm from, is Lubbock, Texas, the home of Buddy Holly, which you probably never heard of, to be honest with you.
Buddy Holly. Actually, this funny story, and I always remember this because I went out to Lubbock. That's how we all met. But I went out to Lubbock for school, and I remember seeing that home of Buddy Holly. But that always brings back this memory. I was like 8, I think, and I was real sick one night. Real sick. Couldn't go to sleep. My mom stayed up with me, and we watched this documentary all about Buddy Holly. I had no idea who he was, but I'll never forget this documentary. I guess it's one of those, time and place moments in your life where there's something so big happening at the same time that you're experiencing it. And so then when we got out to Lubbock the first time and I saw Buddy Holly, I was like, I remember that documentary. Yeah, great. He was, I guess, a great musician. I don't really know anything about his music. I think he died in a plane crash. That's the thing I remember about Buddy Holly.
Yeah, and apparently he was one of the pioneers of the 4-piece band for rock and roll.
Super cool. Well, I'm sorry, everybody, for my alarm that went off. I had this sudden realization that I still had this thing set, and I was scrambling to get it. Didn't catch it in time. That's fantastic. What a way to start the first episode. But before I move on, we're talking about, the future of movie theater, whether the movie theaters are open, if it's going to go straight to on demand. What do y'all think about the future of movie theaters? I mean, some movies already this year have tried it. I think Sonic, the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I know the Trolls World Tour movie did it. Maybe that Staten Island King movie. So several have tried just going straight to on demand, and they charge something like $20 or something like that for you to watch the movie at home instead of trying to go to a movie theater. What do you guys think, Mike? Do you see any future to this?
I can see like more movies doing that, but I think like the bigger like epics, like anything from, I guess, Christopher Nolan, he films his movies to be played on a like IMAX essentially, and you can't really get that same experience on unless you have an amazing TV. But not all of us have that kind of money. But I think I'm okay with some stuff going to on demand, but I think there are still going to be some movies I'd really prefer watching in a theater, just because I want that epic sound with like this huge screen in front of me and my milk duds. But yeah.
Milk duds are a good candy of choice. I don't hate that one. That's a good choice. Yeah, I mean, I can see what you're saying. I definitely love, like, every time a new Star Wars movie comes out, I've got to see it in the movie theater. And I don't get to the movie theater much. I've got two small children. And so I don't get to the movie theater much unless it's going to see the new Frozen 2 movie or some nonsense like that. But I always make it to the Star Wars movies, and that is, because of the experience of seeing the big screen, feeling the sounds and the soundtrack of the movie through the surround sound. It's definitely a tremendous experience, but I think that there's a lot of value and merit to an on-demand service, especially for families and things like that. It makes almost more sense, even financially, to pay $120 fee instead of $40 or more if I have to get popcorn and drinks to bring my whole family to the movie theater. So I don't know, Adam, what do you think? I mean, financially speaking, movie theaters are definitely feeling it right now.
Yeah, they definitely are. And I'm friends with the I guess the general manager of Premier Cinemas here in Lubbock, Texas. And I hate to say this, but I'm kind of 50-50 on this whole thing because I know what y'all are talking about, the experience of going to the theater. It's irreplaceable. You know, when I watched the not the last Star Wars movie that came out, but the first of the last three, I forgot what it was called.
Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens, yes. When the shot of that ship in space hit, like I got dizzy because I was watching it in IMAX and I was like 4 rows away from the screen, which that's the way I like to watch the movies. But like it makes you feel like you're part of the movie. You can't get that whenever you're at home unless you have like an 80-inch TV like my mom does because she can't see. But I also remember back in 2007, whenever I was at a family reunion, there was an option at this hotel to rent movies straight from the hotel. And it was movies that were actually in the theater. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. So, I mean, that part of it's not new to me. But I also see like how convenient it is, especially like if you're not at home, you're at like visiting family and friends from out of town. Like if I were to go see Phil or Mike, you know, I would have a way to go to the movie theater without going to the theater. It's just out of convenience. But going back to what I said before, you know, you can't replace the experience of going to the theater. So, I mean, that's something that's never going to be able to be replaced.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned a scene from Force Awakens, the number 8, the Last Jedi, or the whatever. I've kind of put that, even the name of that movie, out of my memory because it's so god awful. But I do remember one of the opening scenes when they're on that bombing run, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense in the context of space. But let's leave that aside. Just the scene. And how it's so reminiscent of the old World War II movies with the B-27 or whatever it was bombers, and they'd open those bay doors and they just drop all those bombs out. And the way they shot that, as Rose's sister is dying and she presses the button and the bombs drop out, it's just really cool. And I really like how they pull back to that idea of like the old World War II films, because that is something that George Lucas did a lot in the Clone Wars with the Clone Wars ships and things like that. I think that was really cool. One of the best parts of the movie, but that really was outstanding to watch on a big screen. And it would be a shame to see that go away. Personally, I think we're going to see a blend of the two. I think you're going to see places like Alamo Drafthouse survive, or movie theaters turning into something like an Alamo Drafthouse. But I think you're going to see the continuation of on demand as well. I think that's going to be a key. But we are a gaming podcast, so let's talk about some video games, guys. Our first segment that we're going to go with every week. What are we playing? Adam, your scrub ass isn't playing anything. Now, even if you have an excuse, I don't care. This is a gaming podcast. You're not even playing a mobile game. Come on, man. Next week, let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do. Mike, you got here Sea of Thieves, Rocket League. Those are games we've been playing for a while. But one I'm really interested in, though, and I want to hear you talk about it a little bit, is Satisfactory. I've never heard of this game. Give us the lowdown.
It's a factory game. I mean, that's like a whole genre in itself, and I just recently discovered it with Satisfactory. I mean, I've heard of Factorio, and I think there's a few more out there, but Satisfactory just looked clean and polished, and the reason I got it was because it just happened to be on sale on Steam, and it just looked cool. I think it uses the Unreal Engine, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, it looks really pretty, and it's still in early access. But like the gist of it is you just like the end game is not. I don't really know what the end game is yet. I'm just collecting materials to upgrade to build more stuff, and then when I've upgraded to that, I have to get more materials to upgrade to build the next level of things. And like after I've done that, I have no idea what else to do. But I just love having to like put mines down and then having to smelt, and then I have these conveyor belts that take everything and put it in like a storage container, and then from the storage container I have like a assembler that puts things together to make other things, and then have that going into a storage tank, and then it just goes from there. And It sounds really repetitive and dumb, but it's surprisingly addicting. I've already have 105 hours in it, and I've had it for a week and a half. So
Wow.
That
yeah,
is
it's
amazing. I mean, you could play. I mean, my total game time with The Last of Us Part 2 and the Final Fantasy remake is less than 105 hours, and those two games took me months to finish.
yeah, but it's just you just find uh you'll have your like factory going and like, oh, there's a bottleneck. I can do something here to make it speed along, and then you'll fix that, and you've created another bottleneck. I'm like, oh, I got to go fix this now, and then it's 5 a.m. I'm like, what the hell? I got to go to sleep. But
So,
yeah, it's good.
so would you say it's kind of like a Sim City, but for specifically a factory? Do you like
Pretty
pick
yeah.
what product you're trying to produce?
That you are essentially making things to upgrade your recipes, I guess. You can make whatever you want. There's not a certain thing you have to pick. But the way it works is like when you first start, it's just like, all right, collect 10 iron. So you go and you have a little tool and you just start smacking the iron. You collect 10 iron. You put it in this little thing and it shoots up into space. All right, you've upgraded. Now go collect copper. So you go collect copper. You do that. All right. So you have copper. Now make wire. So you make 10 wire, put it in the thing, it shoots it up. All right. Now make cable. So you do that, and it's essentially that. And then you go into more complex things, like you'll start making circuit boards and splitters and stuff like this. But
So do they have anything like I don't know, the old theme hospital games where you'd have patients come in and you got to meet quotas of healing a certain number of patients every so many in-game moments? Is there anything like that where you have to hit a quota and your factory could succeed or fail, or is it more?
no, it's all on your own pace. Like I haven't upgraded my recipes in probably like 30 hours, and I'm just trying to like streamline everything now because I have everything I need to like make actually a building, and that's what I'm working on now. Like there's no quotas you have to meet. It's like all at your own pace, which I really
That's,
like.
that sounds really cool. Adam, do you think you try that out, or is that not really your game?
It actually sounds a lot like Raft in a way. Like not every bit of it, but like the way you take your resources and you have to build this and you have to have so many of that in order to build other things. You know, that's kind of
Right.
what I'm already used to. And especially it's kind of like a Minecraft thing.
Yeah.
It's very much like mine. It's more like Minecraft, I think, than Raft.
Right.
But that's my opinion.
But it's not out of the realm of possibility for me to play that. It sounds fun.
It's very, very like be prepared to get sucked in. That's all. Like it's like really simple stuff, but it's time consuming.
Yeah. Which as most games are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds super cool. It's not gonna be my game. I can tell you right now. That's not up my alley. But that sounds really neat, and I look forward to hearing more about it in the future as they move out of game preview to see what kind of things they add there. So for me, what I've been playing this week, I finally finished The Last of Us Part 2. I got it on release. It's taken me a few weeks to beat it. I put my game clock was 29 hours. At the end, I was going through each environment pretty meticulously, trying to collect all of the collectibles as I went. I got all but 3. I missed 3 somehow. So I went back.
Can you go back and get them?
Yeah, there's chapter select. Thankfully, you have to. Anybody playing this game and they want to do that, you have to make sure you do a manual save in your last chapter, because the way the chapter select works from the home screen is that it holds whatever chapters are available on your last autosave. So if you go into a new chapter to go find something that you missed, and the game autosaves while you're in there, and you come back out and you didn't have a manual save in the last chapter, that now you're screwed. Thankfully, I was reading about this, and I had done that before I started. But I also noticed that the game did hold a manual save. So maybe, the game's been out a few weeks. Maybe the developers realized that this was a little bit of a glaring miss and updated the game at some point since launch. so that you don't have to worry about that. But certainly there's chapter select, and last night I went in and I found the last few collectibles that I was missing. But this game is been very divisive. I don't know if you've seen some of the feedback on the internet. There's a lot of differing opinions on how the story's unfolded and stuff. And I'm not. This is a no spoiler podcast. We're not going to do anything like that. If we ever want to spoil a game, if there's ever a game that we really enjoy, we'll do a special episode for it. So don't worry, anybody listening, there will be no spoilers here.
Well, there goes my fun.
I don't want to, especially a game like The Last of Us, which is so heavily dependent on its story. But that is why it's gotten a lot of differing opinions out there and the way the story unfolds. But ultimately, I really had a good time with it, particularly through the first, I would say, half of the game. As I got into the second half, I was still into what was happening. It started to wane a little bit. It came back at the end to some degree for me. Ultimately, I'd say the game was maybe a 7.5 to an 8 out of 10 for me. It's not better than the first game for me personally. I know some people might like this one better. I really connected with the first game, the story of the first game. As a father with 2 daughters, it was very special for me, and so I can understand how that might not call to everybody playing video games, and the story might be more into it. But it's very story driven, very dark, heavy tones in this game, very mature game. But it challenges, it makes you think about a lot of different themes in really interesting ways. I definitely recommend this game. If you've got a PlayStation 4, play this game, give it a shot. Ignore all the hate and the weird differing opinions out there, and just go play it yourself. See how it is for you. I don't think you'll regret it. There's no way you can say this is an objectively bad game. It controls pretty well. The third-person cover shooting, it works pretty well. The stealth works pretty well. You'll have fun playing with it. Just give it a try. It's definitely worth it. I really had a good time. I think my biggest criticism is I wish it had been about 5 to 8 hours shorter. I think it really got long in the tooth, and it could have benefited from being a little bit shorter. All right. We'll move on unless anybody's got any questions about Last of Us Part 2. I'm happy to answer more about it.
Well, all the questions I have would spoil it, so I would probably that alone.
Yeah, I just think it's not fair to spoil games unless, we'll go with the standard spoiler statute of limitations, like Ghostbusters from the 80s. We can spoil the hell out of that story. Come on, if you haven't seen Ghostbusters yet. Yeah.
Right.
But
it's on you.
Yeah. But anything that's within the last year to 2 years of being released, I think we should leave the story alone and just recommend people go play it.
Right on.
Okay. Let's move on into our next section. This is mainly going to be a podcast about news stories. That's what we want to cover every week. Unfortunately, this week is a little bit light on super interesting stories, except the Xbox Showcase, which was really great. But we're going to do a whole episode dedicated to that. But I picked out a few things. We're going to start off with the DualSense Hands On. So last Friday, set the stage for everybody. Last Friday, Jeff Keighley, who's the host of the Video Game Awards show, got a PlayStation 5 and the new PlayStation 5 controller called the DualSense. And he got a hands-on with it. He got to play around with it for a few hours, and then he did a video on it. Showed us off the Astro's Playroom. I think that's what it's called, Astro's Playroom demo that's supposed to come in with every PlayStation 5. I'd say it's a demo, but my understanding is it's a short game. It's an third-person action platformer type game. Pretty mild in its content, definitely aimed more towards kids. But the idea of this game is to show off the controller. The sense I got, I don't know if y'all remember the launch of the Nintendo Switch, but they came out with a game called 1-2 Switch with the Switch. That's the sense. Do you? I've not actually played it, but that is the sense I got from this, is that this demo is meant to show off the features of the controller in the same way that 1-2 Switch shows off the features of the Nintendo Switch controller. So,
Okay.
before I get on into anything more, did you guys watch the video?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Excellent. It's not that long. The actual part where he's playing with the controller is only about 8 minutes, 8 to 9 minutes long, and then he goes into like a little bit of a interview with I don't know who it was, some marketing manager at Sony. So first off, let me just hear your opinions, Mike. Go for it. What did you think seeing this thing?
I The reason I don't have a PlayStation is mainly just because the controller feels extremely small in my hands, and this looks big and beefy, and it looks like something I should actually grab and not have slip out of my hand if I hold it too tight or break because it's so small. But yeah, it looks. I love the way it looks. I like the what they're talking about, the two different like if you're going to feel yourself slipping if you're on ice when you're on like I have no idea how that can work, but like it just looks really really cool. It may I may be getting a PlayStation just because of the controller and the oh, I have my notes here. Give me 1 minute.
It's all good.
Yeah, just while you're looking that up, just to mention,
Yeah.
the DualSense is a little bit bigger. This is what he talked about in the showcase, was that it's just a little bit bigger and a little bit heftier than the DS4, which is the DualShock 4, the controller that comes with the PlayStation 4. It's pretty clear. The shape, it looks quite similar, honestly, to me, to an Xbox One or the Nintendo Switch Pro controller in its
Yeah,
shape
that's what I
and
was going to say.
size.
It looks just like a Nintendo Switch controller.
Yeah, I would go with that
Yep.
too.
But
So, yeah, did you find what you wanted to touch on?
yeah, that's what it was. Is like it looked like a Nintendo Switch controller, and I've never actually held a Nintendo Switch controller, so I have no
Yeah.
idea what it's going to feel like.
Yeah, the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, again, it's a very similar controller to the Xbox One controller. I quite like it. I like the size of the buttons on it, the face buttons. It's
Mhm.
definitely my controller of choice when I'm playing on Switch. Adam, what were your thoughts on this?
Well, when I first watched the video, I kind of at first I was like, this doesn't look that much bigger than the controller from the PS4. But when he held up the comparison from the PS4 to the PS5, I was like, that's actually kind of a little bit bigger than I thought it was. And I'm not sure how thick it is, but it like you said, it does look like a Switch controller to me. So if it's the same as a Switch controller, then I'll be fine because I love using my Switch controller, the Pro controller. I mean, not the little bitty, tiny hands that a 4-year-old
The
can hold.
Joy-Cons?
Yes, I hate those. I
Yeah,
feel like I'm gonna
even
get carpal tunnel if I play on too long.
yeah, even when I get the little clip and I clip them in, I still don't really like that. There's something about the real square, rectangular shape of those, and how they kind of push into the pad of your hand. You know where your thumb is at, the base of your thumb. The way
Yeah,
it kind of pushes into that, it just doesn't feel right. I definitely don't think the Joy Cons are that great.
yeah, by themselves or not, but going back to what we were talking about a second ago, like the Joy Cons are a perfect fit for the 1-2 Switch game. Which, like I said, I love playing that game. It's a good party game. As far as like competitive or anything else like that, I wouldn't touch it on anything else because, especially like with Super Mario Odyssey, I ended up using the Pro controller for that. But but yeah, going back to the PS5 controller, watching him use the different settings and the movements and the motions for that game that he was playing, it looked really cool. It reminded me a lot of what they're already doing with the PS4, and I'm looking forward to it. I might not get a PlayStation 5 right away just because we're moving, and which is also the reason why I haven't played any games lately because everything's packed. But I mean that's definitely something that I wouldn't mind getting in the future.
Yeah, so let's kind of since we brought in the Joy-Con, let's kind of touch on something. They really highlighted this haptic feedback. Now, that's something that the Joy-Con highlighted back in, what was it, 2017 when the Switch launched, and that was a big piece of that 1-2 Switch game, like where you could fill a glass of water and you could feel like each ice cube dropping in. They were talking, so they made this whole game. They did a whole show about it. I've played a lot of Switch games. I haven't really noticed anything special with this quote haptic feedback. Do you think that it's much different? I don't think it would be. I think if it was much different, they would call it something different. So I think it's a very similar system that's in the Switch Joy-Con controllers. Do you think they can actually do something interesting with it 3 or 4 years down the road now, or do you think it's just going to be another gimmick?
I would hope that they can do something else with it, because that's a lot of time and effort that they spent on this for them just to drop it. But at the same time, it's not. I mean, it's happened before. But I really do hope that they implement those kind of features in the future with other games, because if it's just the 1-2 switch that has all this stuff, in that, it just feels like a waste.
Yeah, one of the examples they gave was with, and they being Sony themselves, when they were talking about this controller and the haptic feedback, was with Gran Turismo Sport, and being able to feel the difference between tarmac and dirt at the edge of a track. I'd be interested to see how they do that. I mean, certainly Keeley talks about how you can feel like grains of sand, how you can kind of feel wind blowing on you. I mean, if it's giving some kind of feedback in the controller as a whole, not just in the triggers, that could be really interesting. But I have a feeling that you're going to see Sony first party studios do a lot with it, and none of the third party studios doing anything with it, because it's really on Sony to sell the features of their controllers. And if it's extra dev time, I can't imagine third parties doing too much with it. But they also talked about these adaptive triggers. Now, this is the part that I have a lot of contention with, because I think Xbox already does this, and I'd be really interested to see what the difference is. I mean, they talk about these varying levels of resistance, you being able to feel, the tension in a bowstring or something. But Xbox controllers already have tension in the controllers, or at least feedback in the controller triggers. I've played on both consoles all generation. I've always picked up racing games on Xbox over PlayStation, because I can feel in the trigger feedback in the tires on the road, for example. So I know when to back off on putting power out of a corner or something like that. That's never really been a thing in a PS4 controller. So part of me wonders if there's that much difference, or if Sony's just 7-8 years too late on this. Mike, what do you think?
I think they're probably 7-8 years too late on it, because I mean, what racing games have you played on PlayStation? Oh, you said you haven't, right?
I've played F1 2019 and Project Cars 2 on PlayStation. All the rest of my racing games I've bought on Xbox or PC if I'm playing iRacing.
Right. Yeah, I think they're just too late on it. I mean, I think what they're trying to outdo is the actual what did you call it? The haptic feel with the wind and all that. If they can get that down, then I think they'll have that over Xbox. It's just if the developers will actually utilize that feature in the controller, because if not, then it's like, what's the point?
Right on. I think the last two things I wanted to touch on this controller is they had two things in there. They had this built-in microphone. I guess it's not really two things. I guess this one built-in microphone does several things. They were showing that there were sounds coming out of the controller on this video, that you could sort of hear the footsteps. He finally put the controller up to his microphone. I had to turn it up really loud and put my ear right up to the speaker, but I could hear it. I could hear the steps in the snow, the little crunching in the snow, the wind or the sand particles in the wind blowing past him.
Right.
I don't know how much I like this. I mean, sometimes I play games at night around, when my wife is watching TV or something and I've got headphones on. I don't want the controller blaring at me when I've got headphones on. Like, that's not really what I want. Maybe there's a way to turn some of that off or whatever, but what did you guys think about that feature?
Yeah, it wouldn't, like, for me, I always play with my headset on. It's very rare I don't. And like having sound come out of the controller would really it's a feature I really wouldn't use, just because I always have headphones on or a headset on.
Yeah, that's not a feature I've used a whole lot either. I know that there is I can't remember if it's Super Mario Odyssey or if it's Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild that I use that feature on, but I did have to use it with like I had to blow on the microphone and I had to tilt it certain ways or something. I forgot exactly what I did, but the microphone had a lot to do with it.
Yeah,
And
that was Zelda. I think Breath of the Wild. There was some weird stuff in some of the shrines that you had to do.
yeah, and honestly, it's just kind of like one of those things. It's extra, and it could have just they could have just left it out.
Yeah, again, I mean, you mentioned the blowing on the microphone, and he did that in the demo, and I was not impressed. I'm sorry, that's just not impressive to me. I can remember back on like the Nintendo DS with WarioWare or whatever that game was, and you having to blow on stuff in that game. I mean, that's something that's so old at this point. I don't find
Right.
that to be an impressive feature. I would have rather them just leave it out. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to the developers actually utilizing that in controller, and like you said, maybe first party games will do that, but the other developers probably won't. They're just trying to get the game to be able to play across all platforms, and like they're not going to make something just specifically for the PlayStation controller. So,
Right on. Well, I think overall my feelings are actually pretty good on that controller. It looks neat. It looks interesting. It's definitely a step forward overall from the DS4. It looks next gen. I'm excited to get my hands on it. I definitely will be getting a PlayStation 5 at launch, no question. I'm just waiting for those pre-orders to come up, and
yeah.
I'll be dropping my money on it. Same with the Series X. So I'm gonna get both. I'm in a fortunate position. I can do that. I'm very excited about it. All right, let's move on to story number 2. Story number 2 is the Sea of Thieves milestone. I'm going to read a little blurb here from Polygon. Sea of Thieves has officially surpassed 15 million players since its launch in March 2018. 15 million players. June 2020 was also the most active month the game has ever seen, with 3.3 million active players. The game launched on Steam at the beginning of June and has sold over 1 million copies through the platform since. So at the beginning of June, that we're talking 7 weeks. 1 million copies in 7 weeks. That's pretty impressive. The seafaring pirate game has grown in popularity since January, attracting over 5 million players in just 6 months. That is really impressive. Mike, this game, it's one that we've played a lot. Actually, Adam, you've played with us too. It's a lot of fun, but 15 million players since launch. I remember when it first came out, there was a lot of talk. It was one of the first games that came into Game Pass. People didn't think that it had a lot of content in there. But at this point, just a little over 2 years on, 15 million players, that's as good a success story as I can think of. What do you think?
Yeah, it's really, really added the content since launch. There's a lot to do. I mean, if you want to go do voyages, you can do that. They've added tall tales, you can do those. There's all kinds of accommodations you can do. You can do emissary quests that'll just give you more gold and rep with the other factions. And they do like these mini events, seasons. I don't know if they recently added ghost fleets, and I don't know if it's something they're going to take away after this month or they're going to keep in. But that's also another thing they added. They're going to they announced something they're going to add in for next month. I have to go back and read that. But yeah, the content, they're just like once a month. They're going to add something small or big, but there's always something new to do.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. Adam, what's your take on this?
Honestly, 15 million players. I mean, that's huge. I think part of it has something to do with the coronavirus taking over and everyone just got stuck inside. But the fact that
Right.
the fact that everybody found this game and just gravitated toward it says a lot. Because I remember when I first saw it, I didn't think much of it. Like I was like, whatever. And then Mike came. I guess he chatted it to us in Facebook, and it was like, "Hey, would y'all play Sea of Thieves with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And it wasn't anything that like I remember saying for the first time, and I was actually having fun. But at the same time, one of the reasons why I started playing with Mike is because he said, "If you play, you have to speak like a pirate." And I was like, "Okay, cool." I'm sure he remembers the first day I played with you guys. I don't know if we were on that one, Phil. Maybe it was just me, Mike, and Tyler, but We I talked pirate talk for a good while. Then after a while, my throat started hurting, so I stopped.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that was a good
definitely
time.
love getting on there and talking like Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean. But I think one of the reasons why this game has really continued to grow is because Rare has supported it over. I mean, it's like every month they put out monthly updates. They put out new content every month, and every few months it's large updates. They've added
Yeah,
the tall tales that you mentioned. So there's some single. I shouldn't call it single player, but story content at least, because you can do those with a crew or by yourself. So it's not really single player. You can certainly play the game
right,
single player, but it's story content. I think that's one of the reasons why you've seen this game grow, and I think it's a fun game to play with friends. It's doesn't take itself too seriously. There's plenty of humorous moments, but there's also a lot of engaging, active gameplay. We were talking about this the other night, just privately, and we were talking about how it's multiplayer all the time. So at any point while you're playing the game, you could get attacked by other people playing the game, and I think that really adds a fascinating element to how you're playing, especially if you don't want to do PvP. You know, you're trying to
right,
go and achieve whatever goal you've got in the game, whether it's finding gold chests or the pirate captains and killing them and collecting the skulls. So you always have to be wary of other people, and that's just part of the gameplay. I think that's really fascinating. I think people should really give this game a shot if you haven't. 15 million players active 3.3 in the past month. This game is popular. People need to take note. I think this is ultimately a great success story for Rare. I am so happy for them because people have really given them a lot of shit, and I don't think it's earned. I can understand right around launch people being unsure about it, but they've really put together a great product here, Mike. I think it's
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. I mean, that's another thing is the PvP is always on. There's no way to avoid it. You're just gonna have to deal with it and just keep a lookout. They are going to be adding private servers soon, which I guess they stated though that you can join a private server, but you won't get any gold, you don't get any rep. It's just to go mess about. Um, it's going to be a great way for other communities to like host like cool little tournaments, I guess, if you don't want to do arena. But
Yeah,
yeah,
probably
the
also
PvP
casual
always
gamers
been
too.
on. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent stuff. Well, all right, let's move on to number three, which is going to be our Nintendo Mini Direct wrap up. So on Monday, I think it was like Sunday night. I think it was Sunday night. They just tweeted out, "We're going to have a Mini Direct in the morning," and this is so Nintendo here lately with these little directs. But they were pretty clear that it was third party stuff, so you wouldn't see any Nintendo first party studio stuff. So I'm just going to go through the different things that we saw on this little mini direct. It wasn't much. And afterwards, we'll talk about what, if anything, piqued our interest. So the first thing we saw was new DLC for Cadence of Hyrule. Now, Cadence of Hyrule actually launched last June 2019, on the Switch. It is a cross between Crypt of the Necrodancer. I don't know if anybody's played this game. It's a PC game. I think it's been ported to some of the consoles at this point. But Crypt of the Necrodancer first came to Steam, and Zelda. So the Crypt of the Necrodancer is a rhythm game. It's like a rhythm dungeon crawler, and they crossed it with Zelda. So they made it more Zelda-like, with tunes based on the Zelda games. It's a pretty neat concept. It's never. I wasn't really into Crypt of the Necrodancer in the first place, so this game didn't call to me, but it seems to have done well. It's earned some DLC. They announced 3 different packs, with the first one launching at the same time as the show. So you can go check that out if this is a game that you're interested in. And then also they said that a full physical release was going to come on October 23rd with all the DLC included. So that's really neat to see. The next game they showed was Rogue Company. So this game is an online multiplayer third-person shooter. It was actually first revealed at a Nintendo Direct in September of last year. So this game has been around for a little while. We've known about it for a little while, but it's an online multiplayer third-person shooter. One of the new things they announced on this direct was that they were going to support cross-platform play and progression. So yeah, this game's coming to everything. You'll be able to play it wherever you want to play it, and it is free to play, which they didn't really mention that in the trailer in the mini direct, but it should be free to play. It comes from High Res Studios, and the idea, I think they're kind of copying this Overwatch idea. I've seen several games copy it recently, but you're going to have characters, special characters with names and unique abilities, and you're going to pick your character and you're going to go into the map. 4v4 or 2v2, I think, are the two different game modes that they've announced. I'm not sure that this one's really calling to me. The character they showed looked kind of neat, but I don't know that this one. I don't think I need another Overwatch. But Rogue Company, that was the second game they showed. The third game was WWE 2K Battlegrounds. So again, we've known about this one already for a couple months. They showed it in April. This is when they announced it. It's a spin-off series replacing WWE 2K21, which got canceled. 2K20 was so bad, just awful. Some great funny videos if you want to go check out some of that stuff, of some of the clipping and nonsense that was happening in that game. But 2K21 got canceled. They've replaced it with this spin-off series, 2K Battlegrounds. They announced a launch date September 18, 2020 for $39.99, so it's not a $60 game. Honestly, the hype trailer with some of the pro wrestlers, I recognize some of them. I'm not big into wrestling, but it looked kind of cool. I don't know. I'd be interested to see more about this. This might be a fun little party game for us to play in our group of friends. The next game, for sure, yeah. The next game they showed, Shin Megami Tensei 3 HD Remaster. So I don't know much about Shin Megami Tensei. I had to read about this a little bit. I guess Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne was the third installment in the series. It came out in 2003 for PS2, and this is an HD remaster of that game. They're saying that it's going to come out in spring 2021. It's a Japanese RPG. I understand it's quite big. It's definitely not my thing. And then right after that, I think the biggest announcement of this direct, it got the most traction on social media. Shin Megami Tensei 5 was announced with a 2021 release date. I think more interestingly, they said it's going to have a simultaneous worldwide release, which is quite interesting because the HD remaster of Tensei 3 is actually coming out in Japan in October of this year, and then in the West in 2021, which is quite common with games from Japan. So Shin Megami Tensei 5 having a worldwide simultaneous release is quite a big deal. So I think for me, the only thing that was really interesting out of this was 2K Battlegrounds. I could see that as being something we could play around with. Adam, what about you? Anything calling to you from this?
My wife hates it when I say it this way because it's what they say on TV, but it's the WWE 2K Battlegrounds that I like to play because I am a huge WWE fan.
I can see why your wife hates that.
Yes, but they say that on, like, if you watch the show, that's how they say it. Here's a WWE champion. I'm just like, oh my god, dude! Like, why do you have to just say WW? But that's just me. But like I said, I have 2K20. My god, is that a train wreck? But I still have fun with it because right now my current favorite is the Fiend, and some of you guys already see that because I have a face mask of the Fiend for the COVID and all that other crap. But right. I love wrestling games. You know, I've always loved them, and I'm one of those guys that constantly make your own character, make your own title, beat everybody in 30 seconds on legend difficulty. And so, yeah, if we want to play casually against each other, I'm all for it.
So will WWE 2K Battlegrounds have that customization, or is this like a whole different like game type?
I think it's a whole different game type.
Okay.
I mean, it's not going to be your classic, WWE like Here Comes the Pain or SmackDown or whatever, what Raw versus SmackDown or anything like that. It doesn't seem like it's going to be that way, but I haven't looked too much into it just because I know that there's a Battlegrounds on the mobile platform, and it's not the same way. Like, it's like you pick your character, you follow the story that they're putting you in, and then there you go. But the only difference that I see that this has is that you have the ability to do more matches. Like, the 3-on-3, and then the ladder matches, and probably a Royal Rumble
Cool.
match. So that's what it seems like to me, just based off what I was seeing.
Right on.
Yeah,
that's the one that's really struck in my fancy is the WWE.
WWE.
WW. Yeah, it's very cartoony characters. They had big heads, which I kind of dig. I think I'm big into pop figures. Well, I shouldn't say I'm big into pop figures. I like getting the Star Wars pop figures. I don't collect any of the other ones, but I think it's kind of clever with the big head stuff. And it certainly was very outlandish in some of the moves. I kind of got a little bit of like Smash Brothers vibes, kind of a little bit from the match that they showed.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's
funny that you mentioned pop figures, because I'm actually staring at 2 pop figures, Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan, right here on my desk.
Nice.
Outstanding. Yeah, I've got Baby Yoda, and I've got Cal Kestis and the second sister from the Jedi Fallen Order staring at me.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have a Iron Man.
Nice.
Because Laurel gave me like an anniversary gift, and it was like our first date we watched the first Iron Man together, and that's what she got me.
No, that's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, I think all in all, this mini direct was only about 8 or 9 minutes long. My understanding is that the Japanese version actually was several minutes longer, and there was another game announced, but that was only for Japan. I don't know much about it. So if that's something, I think these consoles are region unlocked, so you can actually import games from Japan. So if that's something that you're interested in, go check it out. My understanding is that the Japan version of the show was a little bit longer. They announced another JRPG that's big over there. All right, moving on to item number 4 is all about Rocket League going free to play. So from Gamatsu, Rocket League will go free to play later this summer, developer Psyonix Studios has announced. At the same time it goes free to play, Rocket League will release on the Epic Game Store for PC. This version of the game will be identical to every other version and features cross-platform play, including between Steam and the Epic Store. Users who already own Rocket League on any platform will be able to continue playing the game with full support from future updates and features. The Steam version, however, will also receive these updates but no longer be available to download for new players. So if you want it on Steam, you need to go get it before this game goes free to play. Otherwise, you're going to have to get it on the Epic Game Store. All inventory earned by users will remain available. Free to play will also introduce cross-platform progression, allowing users to bring items, Rocket Pass progress, and competitive rank to every platform via an Epic Games account. All users who have played Rocket League Online before the launch of free to play will also be rewarded Legacy status. It goes on to talk about what you get with Legacy status. I'm not going to read the whole thing. The most interesting thing there was the Rocket League branded downloadable content. If you don't have all of it yet, then you'll get that for free if you're granted this Legacy status. So for me, Rocket League, amazing game. We play it all the time. I don't even want to know how many hours I have in the game. I looked at last night. I had something like over 7,300 games, 7,300 games played in Rocket League. Mike, I know you have even more than me. I bought the game on PlayStation 5. Well, I didn't buy it on PlayStation 5. I got it when it was like the day it came out as part of PS Plus on PlayStation 5. But then when it came out on Xbox was it February or March of 2016, I bought it there too. I loved it. I've thought about buying it on Switch. I hadn't yet, and I'm kind of glad now. Now I can just download it for free later when it comes, because I travel a lot on Switch. I'd love to have it on there as well. But this is pretty exciting. It's a cool new direction for the game. I'm not all that surprised. Mike, what about you?
No, not at all. I mean, they were on the road to go to free to play at any time now, and I was not surprised by this announcement at all.
Do you think they'll double down on the season pass stuff?
Yeah, I can see that happening, and I'm completely fine with it. I've actually thrown some money at it, and just because like I get a lot out of this game. It's like my go-to game. If I have nothing else to play and I want to play with friends, it's always Rocket League. Always.
Yeah, I mean, we play it almost every night. Like you put it in your games that you're playing this week. I could have put it in too. we've played 3 or 4 nights in the last week, Rocket League, and
Yeah.
play for hours. It's just a great game. I love the fact that it's like 5 minutes, because you're like, oh, I can play a game because I have just a little bit of time. But then also what ends up happening to me is I end up staying up too late because I'm like, just one more game.
Just one more game. Yeah. But yeah, that's one thing that I really, really enjoyed about it. Because like we used to play Call of Duty like back in the day, and those games would last 15, 20 minutes sometimes. But with Rocket League, it's like they're 5-minute games. So like you can cut it off. Well, I can anyway. Some others of us don't have that ability.
I have to go out on a win, and you do this to me all the damn time. You're like, oh, that's my last game. I'm like, God, come on, Mike.
You're lucky. I just don't bail in the middle. You're like, all right, my time's up. Going.
Time's up. I'm gone.
No, but I mean, it's. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just I have to go out on a win. It's just I don't know. It's my personality, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
Sometimes I'll stay on. Like you'll get off, and I'll stay on. I'll be like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna play more." I have to get a win. It's
you need that closure.
It's something about my brain.
I looked up, and I have 56 days, 3 hours, and 54 minutes play time on Xbox, and I have over 500 hours played on Steam.
My God,
that is outrageous. I would definitely say it's either this or if you add up all my playtime of Destiny and Destiny 2, but it's probably Rocket League is my most played game this generation, but it's one of the two if you add up Destiny playtime along with my Destiny 2 playtime, for sure. I don't think there's too much else to say here. I'm excited for Psyonix. I think that they've really made a great game. They've said that they're going to continue supporting it going forward. Free to play makes sense to me. The Rocket Pass is fun. I like doing the Rocket Pass. Adam, do you think there's anything else to add here?
No, but I do want to ask a question. Did you say you have a PlayStation 5?
No, I mean, obviously nobody has a PlayStation 5 yet. They're not out.
You kept saying I bought on a PlayStation 5, and I'm like, wait, what? You did?
Oh, is that what it's?
That's what you were saying.
I think it's what do they call it? Freudian slip or something? Because we were talking about PlayStation 5 so much earlier. Yeah, PS4. It was the Rocket League when it launched in the summer. I think it was June 2015. It was June or July 2015 when it launched. It launched as a PS Plus game. So if you're not on PlayStation consoles, it's very similar to Xbox Gold and the free games that come with Xbox Gold. So every month you get 2 free games with PlayStation Plus, PS Plus, along with the rights to play online multiplayer, similar to Games of Gold. And it launched. It actually launched as a PS Plus game, and so I got it free there that summer when it came out. And I think actually I was the one that brought it to our group, our friend group, along with Connor, my brother, because he'd come over and stayed with me and we played it a bunch on PlayStation. And I was like, guys, this game is great. You guys check it out. And when it came out on Xbox, we all jumped in on it. And I think the rest is history for us.
Yeah, no. I do see an issue coming though, like with the free to play is Smurfs. Like I can see that happening a lot. Hopefully it won't be as bad as I think it will, but I can see it's going to be a pain the first few months.
Can you imagine the amount of crap talking that we're going to run into once that hits?
I mute, but it's just I can't stand being matched against someone who's well above my skill over and over again.
Wait, there's people that are above your skill?
Yes. Phil is one of them.
I don't know about that. I think we're pretty close, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But for now, let's move on to our next topic, and let's leave the Rocket League to-dos for whenever that goes free to play, and let's hope it's not so bad. So topic number 5 is Sony pushing back in the next-gen debate. So for those that aren't aware, the background of this is Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, has been talking a lot about the next generation of consoles and what Xbox are trying to do in terms of bringing everything forward. So they're saying all your controllers will work on the Series X. They're saying all your games will work over on Series X. And probably more contentiously, they're saying that there won't be any exclusive games to Series X within the first, they said, couple years. Originally, it was 18 months, and now some of the latest comments have been couple years, whatever that means. So I'll just read a quote here from Phil Spencer. He was speaking to gamesindustry.biz. He said, "We should applaud the work that is going on with PS5's SSD and the work that is going on with audio to pick some of the areas that Jim Ryan and Mark Cerny are talking about, and the stuff that PlayStation is focused on. We should applaud load times and fidelity of scenes and frame rate and input latency, and all of these things that we focused on with the next generation. But that should not exclude people from being able to play. Gaming is about entertainment and community and diversion and learning new stories and new perspectives. And I find it completely counter to what gaming is about to say that part of that is to lock people away from being able to experience those games, or to force someone to buy my specific device on the day that I want them to go buy it in order to partake in what gaming is about." So that's what Phil Spencer said last Friday. One of the Sony executives, his name is Eric Limpel. Oh, this is pulling from, we talked about it earlier, it's pulling from the DualSense live stream event. So as I mentioned, Jeff Keighley, he plays with the controller for about 8 or 9 minutes, and then he's interviewing a marketing exec from Sony. His name is Eric Limpel. During that interview, he said, quote, "A big pillar of our company is innovation. It's a pillar of Sony Corporation, and it's also a pillar of the PlayStation Company. We are always trying to push the boundaries of play. We want to excite gamers and deliver new experiences. In many cases, we can't take everyone with us from previous consoles because you need new hardware and devices." Limpel went on to reiterate that the PlayStation 4 won't be abandoned, but titles like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart are simply impossible on the current gen console. He added that the features of the PS5 controller itself set the hardware apart and helped to create new experiences. So you really, moving on from these quotes, you really do have these two different positions juxtaposed against each other. Microsoft are saying that they want people to be able to play everything everywhere. They keep doing this comparison back to PCs, and they're almost trying to say that they're basically providing multiple different levels of PC to you, and you should be able to play their software on whichever hardware you choose to play it on, whether it's an Xbox One, an Xbox One S, the Xbox Series X, on Steam, on PC. That's their whole shtick that they're going with for the next generation. Sony, meanwhile, are doing a much more traditional approach. They're saying, generations are about new experiences. They're about transitions. So it's very interesting to see these two different opinions put against each other. Adam, which way would you prefer? Which one is more interesting to you?
I mean, personally, I like the fact of being able to take all the stuff with you to new consoles. Like with the Xbox One that I have, I had to purchase an adapter in order for me to use older controllers, and that's great for me because it's hard for me to justify spending money on new stuff when I have I buy one thing and then I find out I have to buy all these other things. It kind of sucks, but at the same time, I see what the PlayStation company's trying to do, because they're right in a way, because back then when PlayStation 2 was coming out, it was a DVD player, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, I can watch DVDs on here now. And then PlayStation 3 came out, and it had its own hard drive and all the stuff you can do, download videos, go on the internet, and then you see the progression of the stuff that they're doing, and I like that too. Like you said, it's traditional. With different generations of consoles, you expect different things, and I don't know. It kind of, I know I'm negating myself, but it's I see it both ways. But personally, I like not having to buy new stuff.
Yeah,
right. I'm kind of on the fence here as well, just because the way I feel like the gaming is going is everything's going to be cross platform and the or cross play. So I like there's this one day where I think I as a Xboxer playing Rocket League will be able to get in a party with join a team with someone that's playing on PlayStation, and I just think that's where the industry is going right now. And the uh, the reason, like with exclusives for like either Xbox or PlayStation, like that's to like bring people to get your console. So like, oh, I can't play the new Ratchet and Clank game unless I get a PlayStation, you know. And I guess I can see where Phil Spencer's like he's trying to. I don't know. He may be ahead of his time, but I think that soon there won't be any reason to pick one console over the other because like everything will be played all like you would play like anything, unless for some reason like PlayStation's doing is just making an exclusive game for their console. But I just don't see a reason to like force like you get our console, you have to get the next generation to play this game. I can kind of see like, well, this game can only run on this. Okay, that's fine. I mean, you like there's constant new innovations in making game, and like sometimes the old hardware just won't be able to run it, which is fine. But that's my take on it.
Yeah, I think I see where the game industry is going, that console generations as we know them will probably start to slip away, especially if they can get cloud gaming really to come in line and actually be latency free. Uh, I see a lot of trouble with that in the future, especially here in the United States,
Yeah,
with internet access and things like that. But I do see that that is probably where gaming is going. And what I fear is that so far in the gaming industry, you've had these companies that are trying to sell hardware. They've invested a lot of money in designing a unique piece of hardware, and they want to bring people into that. And so to back up their investment, they have their own studios, and they're their first party studios, and they come up with games that are exciting and interesting to draw you into their platform. And I think some of the most innovative games have been have been first party exclusives. Halo was a first party exclusive. The Uncharted series, The Last of Us, is a first party exclusive, and these are very innovative games. I mean, Halo brought online multiplayer with it. Halo 2 was the first game that we had online multiplayer, and that was a huge seller for Xbox. When they came out with Halo 2 in 2004, and then the next year they launched Xbox 360 with Xbox Live, and soon after that they brought in Gears of War and they brought in Halo 3. That was new. That was not on PlayStation at the time yet. Obviously with PS3 they added it in when that console came out, but that console came out a year after the 360, and I think part of it was because of them having to pivot to this innovation that Microsoft came up with to sell their console. And so my fear is that you might lose some of that in this new uh, future for video games. And so I just hope that we don't lose that. The other point that I would say is that sometimes we're very when it comes to consumer products, we're very interested in what's new and what's exciting. And honestly, like I've read that the Series X, that the dashboard is going to be pretty much exactly the same dashboard we have on Xbox One right now.
right.
The controller's not very different. The games are not going to be a console exclusive. You're still going to be able to play them on the Xbox One. The only thing that really looks new and different is the shape of the console itself. Now, I know the games are going to look better. They're going to be in 4K. You're going to have HDR, maybe ray tracing, all these cool things. But you have to sell it to me first. And when I look at PlayStation 5 and I look at They're talking about a completely revamped UI. They're talking about this new controller with all these new features. They're talking about games exclusive to that platform, designed with their SSD in mind, for example, with Ratchet and Clank and how you can go through these new worlds. That's exciting to me. It just is. And I think it's exciting to a lot of people. And I fear that once again, Xbox is a little ahead of its time. But we'll have to just wait and see when these new consoles launch and how people receive them. It'll be interesting for sure, because I think that is where the console war, in quotes, is in these two very different approaches to next gen. Okay.
Right. Yeah, I want to add on something else though. Like, I do see your point. Like, I am afraid that innovation will start kind of falling off a little bit with the way this might be going. And you're right in the fact that, like, I do like looking at something new. I mean, it's great that Xbox looks different, but you're right. We'd like a different UI, or at least, or something like a control. Like, I don't know. But yeah, the innovation is what I'm afraid may be going out the window if we keep going down this path.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just real quick, devil's advocate here. What are two of the most amazing games of this generation? Red Dead Redemption 2 and The Witcher 3. And those came from third-party studios. And those are extremely innovative to open world and even narrative games. So, I don't know. Maybe we're all talking out of our ass and it doesn't mean a hill of beans. But that's just my thoughts.
Yeah.
All right. Story number 7 is June MPD numbers. MPD software sales for June 2020 has come out. I'm going to read the list of the top 20 selling games of June and see if anything sticks out to you guys. Number 1, Last of Us Part 2. Number 2, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Number 3, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Number 4, Grand Theft Auto 5. Are you Grand Theft Auto 5? Number 4. Number 5, Mortal Kombat 11. Number 6, Red Dead Redemption 2. Number 7, Ring Fit Adventure. Great. Good job there, Nintendo. Number 8, NBA 2K20. Number 9, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Number 10, Minecraft Dungeons. Number 11, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Number 12, Rainbow Six Siege. Number 13, Minecraft PlayStation 4 Edition. That's interestingly unique. Just the PlayStation. Okay, whatever. Number 14, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Number 15, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Number 16, Borderlands 3. Number 17, Need for Speed Heat. Number 18, Persona 4 Golden. Number 19, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated.
What?
Yeah. Number 20, wow. Number 20, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Adam, what sticks out to you in this top 20 list?
Who is buying SpongeBob for the PlayStation or the Xbox? Why?
Well, this is the rehydrated. They remastered the PlayStation 2 game Battle for Bikini Bottom, and it just came out. I think it did just come out in June.
But why? Like, it's SpongeBob.
I don't know. I didn't realize SpongeBob was still so popular.
Yeah, me neither. But honestly, I'm happy to see.
I'm really surprised. Like, is that the remaster? I'm assuming.
Yes, that's the remaster. See, I'm happy that because it reminds me of our Call of Duty days. Whenever we went 80 consecutive games straight without losing in team deathmatch. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I can say it. So I don't. Just as a correction here, I don't think this is the remaster of the 2007 Modern Warfare. I think this is the 2019.
Oh, then just the standalone.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They did do that. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, the reimagining, the reset of Modern Warfare.
But Price is still in this one.
Yeah, Captain Price. Yeah, he's still in
it. Yeah.
No.
It was a great campaign.
I'm so
I don't know if y'all played it or not.
I haven't. And Grand Theft Auto, like, that thing is just like a bad case of herpes, It's not going to go away.
No, it's not. Not with all the mods.
Honestly, I think Grand Theft Auto 5 is pretty much in the top 10 best-selling games every single month, except for very rare occasions like October and November, when you might have a bunch of new releases.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'm looking at the stream, like the browse on Twitch, and it's like one of the top 3 games constantly. Like,
you want to know why?
Why? Yeah.
It's because people are doing the RP versions
Oh,
of
is it the RP?
yeah.
Oh,
Like they're making their own characters, which honestly my favorite is Tiger Rider because I like the characters that he created. But it's entertaining. You know, they're doing it themselves, and like it's cool because like whenever they talk, the character talks, and they make a point. They make them if they're a paramedic, they can kill somebody or they can revive them, and it's hilarious to watch.
that's great. That's great. Also, a quick question, kind of off topic a little bit. What are the chances that Bethesda's going to release Skyrim on the new PlayStation and Xbox?
That Skyrim perpetually comes out on everything.
It's just a thing now. Like, and once again, Skyrim, like, and people will wonder, like, why? It'll be this thing that happens, and nobody knows why.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I think I have a few points to bring out from this top 20 list. The first, Nintendo. They have 5 console exclusives on here. People are talking about, Nintendo not having much to say, what's coming out in 2020, yada yada. Well, you know what? I don't know that they care. They've got they've got 1 game in the top 3. They've got 3 games in the top 10, and then 5 in the top 15 best selling in the month of June. So I don't know that they care. I mean, if you look at PlayStation, they got The Last of Us Part 2, number 1. That's great, but that's their only console exclusive here. Persona 4 Golden, I think, is on PC now as well, which is probably why this popped up. I think this just released on PC, and I think that's why this probably popped up. And then Microsoft have Minecraft Dungeons, but that's not even a console exclusive. That's on everything. So, I mean, Nintendo are looking good here. They've got 5 console exclusives, and I think that's my number 1 thing from this. And number 2 is actually Minecraft Dungeons. To see that it's selling pretty well is really good because it's a Game Pass game. But clearly, people, I don't know if it's probably largely driven by other consoles or other platforms, but it's selling well, so that's good for Mojang. Is it Mojang or Mojang? And
Mojang
and Microsoft. So excellent stuff.
What do you think? Do you think the pandemic has influenced a lot of these Nintendo games being up here?
I do, wholeheartedly.
Because like Animal Crossing came out at the perfect time when everybody was having to stay home and do nothing.
I think,
and I mean, I can go ahead.
I think Animal Crossing definitely benefited from the COVID-19. Have either of you played it?
I haven't played the new one, but I do like playing Animal Crossing.
I haven't played it.
Yeah,
I don't have a Nintendo.
I had no interest in this. This was not my game.
It's definitely addicting. That's for sure. Because my wife was the first one to play it because she's like, "Oh, we need to play this game," and I'm like, "Okay." And then I did, and I'm like, "Man, we got to play this game. This is fun."
Right. Yeah, I never really got into it.
Excellent. Well, I've also got here the top 10 best-selling games of 2020 so far, which is another interesting read here. Number 1, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Number 2, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Number 3, The Last of Us Part 2. Number 3, Last of Us Part 2 already. It's only been out a month. It launched June 19th, so that's crazy. And actually, because this is June NPD sales, this is only their June sales. So that's crazy. Number 4, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Number 5, yours truly, Grand Theft Auto 5. Number 6, NBA 2K2. That means that until The Last of Us came out, Grand Theft Auto 5 was the 4th best-selling game of the year.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Number 6, NBA 2K20. Number 7 is Adam's favorite of the year so far, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot.
Indeed.
Number 8, MLB The Show 20. Number 9, Resident Evil 3 Remake. And number 10, Madden NFL 20. So that's cool. I mean, I think we touched on the keys here from the top 10 so far.
Right.
All right. Well, let's move on to number 8, our wrap up. So I've got a few quick stories here that we don't have to spend too much time on, but I thought they were interesting. They didn't really have a place, but I wanted to touch on them. In the latest issue of Famitsu in Japan, they reported that the next installment of Final Fantasy VII Remake is in production. They had a few quotes here from Tetsuya Nomura, who is the director for that game. He talked about fully understanding the importance of releasing a continuation soon. We want to deliver as quick as possible. We've grasped where the level of quality should be this time too. That's an interesting line. We've grasped where the level of quality should be. Everybody talked about how good the first game was, so I wonder
Right.
if that's an indication that maybe originally the next installment might not have been to the same level, and they're acknowledging
Right.
that they need to be at that same level. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
He went on to say that for the next game, we plan to release something with even greater quality and even more
Jeez.
enjoyable than the first game as quickly as possible. I wonder what that means. When do you guys think that's going to come out?
Oh,
That's a
well,
good question.
if it's anything like the first Final Fantasy, probably right before the next generation.
Yeah.
I
If
don't think
it's
they can get away with that. I think if it's more than 2022, I think that's any longer than that, and they're going to start running out of goodwill on this one.
Right.
well, you also
Right.
have to remember how long it took to make Breath of the Wild. You know, people were anxious about that. When it came out, everybody went nuts.
Right.
So that's something that we need to keep in mind. If it takes that long, you know, we can't hold it against them, because if it's that good of a game, then everyone's going to forgive them.
Right.
That's true.
Fair enough. All right, and then he finished by saying that when we announce the next game, quote, when we announce the next game, we hope to also make our future plans clear. So that's good to know. Like if they come out with a much clearer roadmap, like it will be 4 installments or 3 installments, and the next one will come out in 2 or 3 years or whatever. That would be, I think, very very good for this game for them to be clear about that. All right, wrap up
Right.
item number 2. The Xbox Summer Showcase demos are available until July 27th. So there are 70 plus indie games on Xbox Store that you can download a demo for. They said this is kind of like replacing the Xbox or the E3 Showcase floor with some of these indie games. So definitely check that out. Go see what you can find on there. They're all free to download. I think that's a really neat idea that they've come through with here. Wrap up item number 3. It got me really excited. Samurai Jack Battle Through Time will launch for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC via Steam on August 21st for $39.99. I'm pretty excited about this. I was a big Samurai Jack fan as a kid, so this should be pretty cool. It's an action
Cool.
platformer. It looks really neat, really colorful. I'm excited to play that. Wrap up item number 4. Lethal League developer Team Reptile has announced Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, a game in which you will, quote, start your own cipher and dance, paint, trick, face off with the cops and stake your claim to the extrusions and cavities of a sprawling metropolis in an alternate future set to musical brainwaves of Hideki Naganuma. Naganuma? I'm probably butchering that. I'm very sorry. To all our Japanese listeners. It will launch for PC via Steam in 2021. I picked this out. I don't know if you guys remember Jet Set Radio
I
from
don't.
Sega, but this game, go check this out. Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. This is an ode to Jet Set Radio. It's really cool looking. The same art style, the same grinding on different things and tagging buildings with your spray can. I think this might get me out on Steam. I don't game on PC very often, but I'm excited for this. Go check it out. Bomb Rush.
Definitely check it out.
All right, and wrap up item number 5, our final wrap up item. Just a note: Microsoft has discontinued the 12-month Xbox Live subscription. So no longer can you buy 12 months of Xbox Live at one time. You can still get the 1 month, 3 month, and 6 month, but you cannot get the 12 month. So a lot of
I have
speculation.
a prediction about that.
Okay, let's hear it.
I think the 12-month subscription will include Xbox Ultimate with it. It'll be a slightly higher price than, I guess, the standard gold, but I think they're going to kind of bundle in that with a 12-month subscription,
I can
which
see
I would
that.
definitely get. I would definitely get that if that's what they decided to do.
Yeah, I probably would too.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be a much higher price. I mean, right now it's I think it's $15 a month for Game Pass Ultimate, which works out to $180 a year. Xbox Live Gold was $60 before this. What I've heard is that maybe Microsoft are looking to do away with Xbox Live Gold completely, which would be really interesting if you could play multiplayer for free.
That'd be crazy.
That'd be crazy. Now, if they went the opposite direction and said now multiplayer is bundled with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, I think that could be a bad move because now you're making people pay even more for multiplayer. But if they made multiplayer free and just try to drive people to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for all the other benefits of it, I think that'd be pretty killer. And Sony would, I think, probably have to react to that at that point.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right. So that ends our news section. It was, I said it was kind of a light news week, but we ended up talking for quite a while on news. So I'm going to just roll into our next section, which is upcoming games. Now, there's not a whole lot that's coming out this week, not anything of note. But since we are a Friday through Thursday news cycle, I wanted to go ahead and mention a couple games here that came out last Friday. Normally, if we had done our first show last week, we would have talked about these there. But since we didn't have a show last week, I want to go ahead and mention these two. Number one is Ghost of Tsushima. It's the new PlayStation 4 exclusive game. I'm pretty excited about this one. I haven't got it yet. I was trying to finish The Last of Us Part 2 before I got it. But I was reading that this game has done really well in Japan, which is really interesting because this game comes from Sucker Punch, a Western studio. They're based in Washington. And so,
interesting. I did not know that.
Right. So Western, being a Western Western studio doing a game about Japan, it's a pretty unique set of circumstances. And you would think that Japanese market might not be as interested in it, but in fact, Famitsu gave it a 10 out of 10, and this is only the third Western developed game that has got a 10 out of 10 from Famitsu, which is pretty amazing. Any guesses on what the other two might be? Mike, you go first.
I have honestly no idea. Like I was gonna say, what is that? Hunters. Oh. I have no idea what the hell that game's called. But I have no idea on what other games.
What about you, Adam?
Tell me.
Do you have any guesses?
I have no idea, to be honest with you.
Okay. I think you probably are going to kick yourself when you hear this. But the first one was a game that you mentioned just a few minutes ago, Mike. Skyrim got a 10 out of 10 from Famitsu. That was the first ever game to get a 10 out of 10. First ever Western developed game that got a 10 out of 10. And the next one was Grand Theft Auto 5, the world's greatest game. So
yes, apparently it is.
But I find that really interesting. So Famitsu, if you don't know, is like the biggest magazine in Japan, gaming magazine in Japan. So this is a pretty high honor for a Western developed game, especially considering it's about Japan. It's about feudal Japan, 13th century feudal Japan. I also read that it sold 222,000 copies in Japan in the first week, which actually sold out of stores. So you literally can't go into a store and buy it in Japan right now. So I'm pretty excited to check this out. Pretty cool looking game. And then number two is Paper Mario Origami King on the Nintendo Switch, which looks pretty interesting as well.
Yep.
I've never played any Paper Mario games, so.
Yeah, me neither, but the art style looks pretty neat, so I might have to check that out as well. Maybe play it with my daughter.
Yeah, it's definitely family friendly. And listening to the Nintendo Power podcast the other day, I actually heard a couple of things. I mean, it's been out for a while, but I'm not going to give anything away since we're not doing any spoilers. But there's a lot of clever little innuendos and things that'll make you go, that's funny. Like there's a lot of that, which Mario's usually pretty good about doing that, regardless of what franchise it. If it's paper, if it's the what do they call it, the Yoshi Woolly World stuff like that.
Yeah,
And like Odyssey,
Right.
like they have tons of stuff like that are like that. So I from what I've seen and from what I've heard, I can't wait to actually unpack my Switch and play it because I want to play it. It sounds fun.
awesome
Cool.
stuff. All right, we're going to move into our last segment now. The last segment is going to be the topic of the week. We're going to rotate different things in here. We might look at some retro games. We might look at some gaming fail moments. Um, this week, though, we're going to talk about our gaming histories just to give you an idea about us and where we come from in terms of our playing video games. So, Adam, why don't you start us off? Give us your quote gaming history.
Where did it all start?
I have to do it this way. In a world, I'm kidding. I can't do that.
Oh God.
The earliest that I remember playing is with my brother. I was always player number two, just to get that out the way.
With the Mad Catz controller.
No, this was before that.
Oh dang. You're
It,
old.
it was, yeah, aren't we all? But yeah, the first thing I remember playing was the Mario game. Actually, it was on the NES, and I could never ever beat any of the levels because I was too young to do it. But I was fortunate enough to have an older brother who had to have every console ever made. So I got the NES when it came out. I got I say I got it. My brother did because he was old enough. I got the Sega when it came out with the, what is that game where you have to run in place? I don't remember what that is. It's like a track thing.
It was on Sega?
Yeah.
I remember playing that game on just a regular NES. It was like a little pad.
Yes.
And you had to like stand on it and run. Yeah, I didn't actually run. I got like 2 spoons. And I just would drum on it.
Yeah.
Instead of actually getting up and running.
Yeah. Like I since I have asthma, I could only pat my hands on it as fast as I could. But I had that. I had the SNES. I got to play with the Atari because it was still in good condition. I got to play every gaming console as it came out throughout my entire life. So my gaming history goes back towards the beginning.
Do you have any games that stand out that you really, really enjoyed?
Honestly, the ones that I like playing the most are the wrestling games. Those are the ones that
Okay.
keep me engulfed in it. Just because of the whole create a character, you put yourself into it. You put all the time and effort into creating your character, and it's something familiar. Because, like I said, I'm a huge wrestling fan. Which, Mike, because I used to slap you in the face with my wrestling belt.
Right.
It's brilliant. What is the best wrestling game that's come out in the history of gaming so far? My understanding is there's a correct answer to this.
There is a correct answer to it. I don't know it because I refuse to pay attention to what other people are saying as far as that goes. But honestly, I think it's the SmackDown versus Raw 2006.
Okay.
Just because I think it's the best game for me because story wise, because everything was made specifically for that game, and it was also the last game that featured Eddie Guerrero while he was still alive and active. And so, like, you had all the voiceovers, and it was from him, which that story kind of ended a little eerily because he went up against The Undertaker in a casket match. And so you see Eddie Guerrero get thrown into a casket and buried alive. So that came out after he died. So that was a little eerie.
Oh, wow.
But everything else besides that, it's top notch. There's hardly any glitches. I can't even remember any. And it was just a good thing to do,
My go ahead.
No, I was done.
Oh, I think my favorite wrestling game was WWE Day of Reckoning on GameCube.
Oh, that was so good.
I played that one over and over again.
Yeah, my understanding that the answer is one of the N64 games. I don't remember which one it was, but I think WrestleMania on N64 or something like that. I think.
What is that? 2000?
Maybe. I didn't play
right.
it, but I've heard a lot of people talk about that one as being one of the best wrestling games.
Yeah.
What about Adam? What about today? What are your favorite game franchises right now, and what consoles are you gaming on?
I mainly play games on the Switch, and when I play games on the Switch, I usually go to Super Mario Odyssey because I'm obsessed with completing the game 100%. I've already done it twice. Me and my wife have done it together, and we're working on a third one, which of course that's before we started packing everything. Other than that, if I get on the Xbox, I'm usually playing with one of you guys. If it's on the PlayStation 4, I'm playing WWE 2K20 and laughing my ass off just because it's hilariously bad.
Right.
And if I'm on my PC, it just depends on the mood. Like I'll sometimes, if I'm wanting to play casually, I'll play on Sims. And if I want to do something else, I will play Grand Theft Auto 5.
Of course.
The world's best game.
Yes. Except
Okay.
I don't play the Grand Theft Auto 5 like everyone else. I get on there just to mess everything up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds about right.
My funniest Grand Theft Auto 5 story. My wife is really pretty buttoned up. You know, raised Catholic, pretty. I mean, I love her, and it's why I married her. But she's definitely a pretty buttoned up character. I was playing
Right.
Grand Theft Auto 5. She doesn't play video games at all, and she came in and she's like, "Oh, I want to try it." I was like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, I want to try this." I give her the controller. Now, mind you, I'd been playing for 15 to 20 hours at this point. I hadn't just randomly run over somebody for the sake of it. Some
Right.
NPC on the streets. She gets into a car, starts mowing down people on the streets, as many as she can find, then rolls up and sees this lady on the corner, and she goes, "Is that a prostitute?" And I said, I think it is." She's like, "Can I interact with her?" I was like, "Yeah." She goes and picks up a prostitute in the back of her car, bangs it out with this prostitute in the back, laughing her head off hysterically as this happens. I'm like, "Who the fuck are you? I don't even recognize you. You're not the person I married."
That's so funny.
That's awesome.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
great.
So there you go.
man.
It's my GTA 5 story. Mike, what's your gaming history, man?
It started with just regular NES. I played Super Mario. Never beat it. Then I moved on to my Sega. I never got the Super NES. I just went to Sega. Got Sonic. That's pretty much the only game I had, so I would beat that game at least once a week. Then after that, I got a Nintendo 64, and I got Rogue Squadron with that. And I beat that game several. It's the only game, like, we were poor, so like if I happened to get a game, that's the only game I could play, and so I would replay that game over and over and over again. And then after that, we got what was it? I got a GameCube because I actually had a job at the time, and played Metroid Prime Echoes, and I couldn't play the sequel because it was on they released it on the Wii, and I never got the Wii. And then after that, I built my own computer and installed EverQuest on it, which was my first MMO. And then after that, I played WoW. And then after that, I finally kicked that habit. It was very hard. I think I played MMOs for like 5 years. Wouldn't play anything else.
Wow.
And then Tyler and I became friends, and we met just because we played WoW, and we just hung out just through that connection. And he stopped playing, but I kept playing. And then we became roommates, and he's playing Call of Duty on Xbox. I'm like, that looks like fun. I'm going to go buy an Xbox. So I went and bought an Xbox and got Call of Duty and just exclusively played Call of Duty. I didn't really kind of veer far off of that. And then BioShock came out. Beat that, and then BioShock. I ran through BioShock 2 really fast. That one didn't really stick out, but I really enjoyed BioShock Infinite. Didn't really get the DLCs for that. Then after that, um, got the Xbox One. Played Titanfall. That's whenever you and I started playing a lot together, Phil. Was Titanfall
Yeah,
back in 2014.
we actually, because we all worked at Lowe's together. I mean, that's where all of us really met. You and
Right.
Adam, myself, and Tyler. That's where we all met, and you guys got me playing. The first game we played together was Call of Duty Black Ops, I think.
That's right. Yeah. No, that's definitely it. But for sure, that's right.
Yeah,
And
then
then,
we did Titanfall a lot together as well when it came out.
but we kind of like drifted apart because like you had just moved away and got married and had a kid,
All
so
true
you weren't really
stories.
gaming all that much. And then we got an Xbox. Yeah, I got an Xbox One, and you messaged like, "Hey, I have this. Let's play together." And then here we are now.
Here
And
we are now. The rest is history.
I from there I moved to Destiny, which you introduced me to, and ended up playing that a lot more than you actually did, which I think is funny.
Very true.
I put so much hours in that game.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then Rocket League and like the type of games like I'm really enjoying. Like I'm not really pulled to like any RPGs. The main ones I really liked, like I said, are BioShock and Fallout. Not Fallout. Far Cry.
Far Cry.
That's the like really yeah.
You
But
were a
I'm really looking
Skyrim
forward to
guy too,
Cyberpunk.
right?
Yeah, I played 3/4 of the game, and then I just kind of it's like those kind of games just they don't really grab me as as well as like it's just what I like is the replayability. Like Rocket League, I could play that game over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And builders like or sandbox type games like Minecraft or Satisfactory, something I just sink time into. It's very rare that like a game with a storyline and all that really grasps me. Like I'll watch Twitch streamers play that, or if it's something I really really want to experience it myself, I'll just buy the game myself.
Yeah,
But,
absolutely. So you would say your current favorite franchises are not really. There's not really a franchise that you really draw to. Maybe Destiny,
BioShock,
Bioshock.
um,
Are
and
you
Destiny for
looking
sure.
forward to the new Bioshock? Have you heard that there's a new one in development?
No,
Yeah, they're
this is
making.
news to me.
Yeah, oh wow! So I'm breaking on the show. Mike has just learned
What?
Bioshock 3 or 4. I don't know what they're calling it.
For
Yeah, 4 is in development. You're gonna have to look that up afterwards. Yeah,
oh my gosh, yeah,
yeah.
definitely doing that.
Now, it's not the same guy, of course, that wrote Bioshock and Bioshock
No,
Infinite. I can't
that'll be
remember his
interesting.
name now, but he went off and created his own studio, and he's got his own game in development right now. That's supposed to be coming out around the same time as Bioshock 4. It's be interesting to see how those
Oh,
are received
right.
together. I really wish I could remember his name, the guy who wrote Bioshock. That's going to drive me crazy. But maybe one of you guys can Google it while I'm giving my gaming history. But yeah, this is. I'm glad I could bring this to you. You got to go look it up. It's
Yeah, I'm looking it up now. I'm excited.
yeah. All right, excellent. So I'll give you guys my gaming history. So the first console I ever owned, I don't remember getting it. I don't know if my dad was interested in it and so bought it for himself, and then I just played it. But the first console I ever owned was Super Nintendo. We had Super Mario. Obviously, I did beat it, and I also beat it again recently, a couple years ago. So I'm really, really disappointed. And whoever it was, at Adam, was it you who said that you never finished Super Mario?
No, that was
I
Mike.
never finished
Oh,
it.
it was
I
Oh
Mike.
finished
yeah,
Mario.
Okay,
yeah. I never
Mike,
finished it.
that's you gotta go and finish Super Mario. That's such a great game. We had Super Mario. We had Mortal Kombat, which looking back on it, I don't understand why my dad let me play Mortal Kombat as
It's
an
pretty
8-year old,
rough,
but he
right?
did. Maybe it's because that was the clean version, right? Sega had the better version of Mortal Kombat because it had the
Oh
blood and
right,
everything. Uh,
yeah.
SNES didn't. And then we had like the Aladdin game, the Aladdin platformer game. That was my first console. I didn't really ever play an NES. One of my uncles had it, and so I would play around with it whenever we would go over to their house to visit. But I didn't really own one. And then after that, the next console I got, even though I was begging my mom for an N64, she
Mhm.
bought on Christmas of 1998, which is like 3 years after it came out. She bought me a PlayStation 1. So that was my next console.
Oh
We
wow.
had like Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, played FIFA. I've always been a big FIFA fan. So you'll probably hear me talk about FIFA soccer at some point on the show. Sorry, everybody, just gonna have to put up with it. Love me or hate me for it. Um, but those were the games we played there. I've really generated a love for Crash. Not so much Spyro, but Crash. I love Crash, and I am so excited for Crash 4 coming out later this year. A true sequel to the original trio of games from Naughty Dog. I'm pretty excited. I hope they stick this landing. Obviously, Naughty Dog's not the one developing Crash 4, but regardless, I really hope they stick that landing. Pretty excited for that. And then after that, again, I was just a single console person. We were fine financially. My parents did well, but they just, I guess they wanted to teach me how to be frugal and enjoy what I had, and so they only ever allowed me to have one console at a time. And so in
Mhm.
2001, I was in a store, in a game store, looking for PlayStation games, and I remember, I could still remember it. I saw the boot or the little demo station for Halo, and I was immediately drawn to it. I loved space stuff. I was always a big Star Wars fan. I've always been a big Star Wars fan. And so I walk over and I start playing, and I instantly fell in love. I was like, I have to have this. So, Mom, I need an Xbox. I have to have it. And she's like,
I need
I
it.
am I'm not going to buy you an Xbox. You still have this PlayStation 1. I'm like, Mom, it's like 3 years old. She's like, I don't care. And I was like,
Right.
what do I have to do to get an Xbox? She's like, I don't know. We need to paint the outside of the house. If you paint the outside of the house, I'll buy you an Xbox. I was like, sold. She's like, are you serious?
How,
Yeah. So
how old were you here?
I was 2001, so I was like 13.
Oh,
When this
okay.
That's
Right
some
on.
dedication right there.
So she
Yeah.
went to the store, bought all the paint, and over a week, I painted the entire exterior of their house, except for we had a 2-story house. So, except for that upper part where they had to get a lift, and my dad did that part because they didn't trust me up there, which is fine. Whatever. No big deal.
Yeah.
I'm not salty about it. But I painted the whole house. And so my mom bought me an Xbox with Halo 1, Halo Combat Evolved, and The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Those are my first two Xbox games. And
Nice.
from that point on,
How,
I was
quick question. How long did
sure.
it take you to paint that house?
I did it in a week.
Oh, a week.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. I did it in a week. I remember it was like over a Christmas vacation. Um, So, I didn't get the console like right at launch. I got it probably end of December, early January. But yeah, I did it
Mhm.
in a week, and I earned myself an Xbox. And from that point on, that's all I could play was Xbox.
Right.
I fell in love with the console. I fell in love with the franchises. I loved Halo. I loved Gears of War. I loved Fable. These are just great franchises. We got some of the first BioWare games exclusively with Knights of the Old
Hmm.
Republic, and of course Mass Effect, which is a massive game. I loved the Xbox when the 360 came out. I was like day one, I gotta have it. And I guess at that point, I think my mom probably bought it for me for Christmas, so I probably didn't get it day one, but she knew how much I love video games at that point, and that was my Christmas gift for that year. Um, and then
Right.
when the Xbox One launched, at that point I had a real job, and I got that day one. Super excited about it. I didn't get a different console until 2014. I bought a PlayStation 4 to play The Last of Us. And at that point, I really started to drive my love into video games across the whole. And at this point now, I own literally everything you can play video games on. I've got Xbox One, a PS4, Nintendo Switch. I've got a PC, a gaming PC, and I've started collecting some older consoles like I've got a GameCube, and I've got an NES and an SNES here. I still have like an original Xbox.
Wow.
stuff like that. So I started collecting all these different consoles. So that's kind of my gaming story. I would say that my love really is Xbox. I'm always pulling for them, but honestly, over this generation with the PS4, I've really learned and grown to love that console as well. And I would say I'm a true dual console gamer. I play everything on both, and then the Switch as well. The Switch is great for all of its little things, but that's where I'm at now.
Cool.
My favorite franchises, like I said, Halo and Gears and Crash, and then Mario. I love Mario, and then the new stuff, Far Cry. Like you mentioned, I am a big Far Cry fan. Now, the first Far Cry I played was 4, but I've gone back and played all of them now. I love those games. Those are really cool games.
Right.
And then my guilty franchise is Call of Duty. I literally own every single Call of Duty that's ever come out, all the way back to number 1 on the PC. I still have them all. I buy them every year.
Nice.
That's my guilty. That's my guilty one. I love the blockbuster popcorn campaigns. So,
Right. Yeah.
So
Cool.
that's me. All right. Well, so we were shooting for an 1.5 hour podcast. We're at 1 hour and 45. I've had a timer running, so we're a little bit long here. So let's go ahead and wrap up. Thank you everyone for listening. This was a lot of fun to put this thing together. We're so excited to do this on a regular basis. We have a passion. We have a love for video games, and we like to talk about them. And hopefully, we're interesting to listen to. If not, you could tell us, but maybe kindly, because we have feelings.
Yeah.
But, if you've got any constructive criticism, please remember, leave those likes, those subscribes, those reviews on your podcasting app of choice. If you have any questions for the show, we'd love to get them and read them out on the show. DM us on Twitter or Facebook. Our links will be in the show notes. And we'll be back tomorrow night with our Xbox Showcase special. And then again next Friday with episode number 2. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe, game hard. Thank you, everybody.
Later, guys.
Later.